Hey there everyone. It's a beautiful day out here, October 19th. It's quite a striking contrast to 30 years ago when I was picking out Halloween costumes, raking leaves, admiring the fall color. Leaves here on October 19th haven't even begun to change. Same area, Pasadena, Maryland, yet our growing season has drastically changed. We're going to take a minute and look at some biodiversity here at this pond. Another thing that probably wouldn't have been possible on October 19th 30 years ago, because all the organisms would be burrowing in, getting ready for their long winter nap. So we'll probably see some frogs down there, maybe even some turtles, and we're going to look at how we measure biodiversity in an ecosystem. This is a pond that was created in order to hold stormwater. Stormwater is a major problem in our environment as we continue to build houses. Oh, look at that bullfrog over there. Lots of them jumping in as I come down and scare them away. We increase the amount of runoff, and we need a place for that water to go. And so these stormwater retention ponds are one of the solutions that people have come up with to help capture all that water that we have generated through runoff. And the community here has decided to take this area and convert it to an ecosystem. Instead of being the normal pond, hopefully you can see these frogs here. As I walk by, I'm going to try and go slower so we can get close to one. But instead of allowing this to just be a regular pond and maybe some cattails, they come in and planted I believe that's called arrowroot. And up here you have some of the standard cattails, which are native species. There is right here, it's already bloomed, but this is hibiscus here. You can see the little seeds popping in. I can't tell you all the names of the species in here, but quite a lot of different species. And look at this ecosystem, which is also the plants. The primary producers here are sustaining quite a large population of frogs, and multiple different species of frogs actually. I just saw a leopard frog. I saw Rana castabana, which is the common, I believe it's a bullfrog. Lots of frogs here. This would be home to spring peepers also. Oh, there goes a turtle. Oh, he's gone. That was a red-eared slider, Trichemes pisca. They're quite abundant here, the organisms that live in this ecosystem. And this is because the community took the initiative to come down here and change this ecosystem from just a swale pond, stormwater runoff pond, to this really beautiful ecosystem. And so we're going to look at that today in a class. We're going to look at the biodiversity of ecosystems and things that affect that biodiversity. I'm just going to keep on walking around here and show you. Hopefully we'll see some cool organisms. And hopefully you're hearing all those little peeps as they jump in. I scare them across the edge here. I might jump in here and catch one for you. Oh, there goes another turtle. I need to be a little quieter. So one of the things that happens here, the stormwater, when it reaches that level there, all this begins to dump out, which ends up being a problem actually, because if it doesn't, that all that pours out and it runs into the local stream, it doesn't get filtered, you end up with dirty water going into the Chesapeake Bay. See if we can see, I hear something down there, so there's definitely water still flowing, coming in from some of the other areas. And so that would be the clean filtered water, which will flow into, for this one, this goes into the Bodkin and would supply the Bodkin with a nice freshwater supply. And it's important that it goes in slowly. Like I said, if that fills up, it's going to go in too fast. It's not going to be filtered, and you're going to have issues with lots of excess nutrients entering the ecosystem. This here's a willow. It's a great food source for caterpillars, which hatch into the viceroy butterfly, that yellow butterfly that you probably see, the big yellow butterfly, not the little one. likes those. One of my professors, Dr. Platt over at UMBC, was a lepidopterist, absolutely loved butterflies. I'm going to pause here. This looks like a good spot for me to jump in. I see a little snake over there, a little garter snake. So I'll see if I can catch anything here and show you some of the different organisms that are in this ecosystem. All right, guys, so here's site 2. I've already shown you a little bit of site 2, but we can see here that this is another stormwater retention pond from the same community, actually. This is in Pasadena, Maryland. This is the community across from the stormwater retention pond we were just at. Striking difference. Tremendous amount of genetic diversity, probably, with all those species out there. You would assume that there's different genes in there. But as far as biodiversity, it's very low. You have just very few things in there. In addition, these, a lot of homeowners plant this because the deer won't eat it, the rabbits won't eat it, the insects won't eat it, which means this is not food for our ecosystem. It doesn't provide anything for this ecosystem. And they've been planting these along here because they didn't want the deer to eat the things that were here before. Back in here you can see one lonely little native species. This is butterfly milkweed. Didn't even bloom this year. Hopefully it'll be able to get enough sunlight and nutrients and water next year to bloom. Here's one over here that did get to bloom. This is the favorite food of the monarch caterpillar. I've done a pretty good job of trying to plant these in here every year, but as these invaders continue to take over, we get less and less of these. So I try and disperse some of these seeds out here and see if we can't spread this around and get it to come back next year. Probably won't be able to compete so well with this ornamental grass that people have planted here. I also put ironweed and Joe Pye weed down here in the Phragmites. I'll go down there and cut it all out and plant it, and every year the Phragmites win and the Joe Pye weed loses. So definitely a difference in biodiversity for this ecosystem. And when we talk about species richness, we're talking about the different number of species in that ecosystem. It has a very, very low species richness. As far as evenness, well, you only have one species. So, well, I guess we could count a few more up here. But biodiversity index for this ecosystem would be very, very poor due to that invading Phragmites.